It's finally happened. The only reason Overwatch 2 ever should have existed has not only not come out in the way that they originally promised, but it has been completely canceled. That's right, Overwatch 2 reportedly completely canceled the PvE, as Dextero reported today. And I want to talk a little bit about this and break down some performance reviews of Overwatch from earnings reports that have come out in a couple articles. But man, it's just, I see a lot of people talking about this. So this video is probably titled the Overwatch 2 rant, or like Overwatch 2's finally canceled, right? The reason for the 2 is gone. It doesn't exist. And guess what, guys? Blizzard could not be more correct in their decision to abandon what they originally abandoned the game that was super popular for. Look, guys, it's a sunk cost. It's the right thing to do to focus on their wheelhouse and focus on the community that's already there. That clearly is what Overwatch is meant to be. It's a PvP game. And yes, I was one of the biggest advocates for PvE. I was going to redo my entire channel to be themed around PvE. I was more pissed off than anybody else was when they announced that they weren't going to bring it out in the way that they promised, right? And that really sucked. But that ship sailed a year ago. Right, that ship sailed, and Kodak's gone, and there's a new company in charge, and Blizzard is much better off focusing on what they were good at with Overwatch, in the PvP. It's what needs to happen, and if you realistically think that these PvE missions could come out at a quality that was promised, and in a way that's even worth investing any time into, you're off your rocker. That's the reality, guys. It's been like that for years. The developer team doesn't have the resources to do that and then reskin the whole new game and do all this stuff. So am I upset that very clearly at this point it goes beyond just, you know, canceling what the original vision was? Like, it's just not going to happen at all. We're about a year after the big bomb got dropped that we weren't going to get what we wanted. And, you know, the ship's kind of sailed. And, you know, on this channel, we don't just complain to complain. I mean, I like to be solution-based, right? Which is why, you know, I quoted the tweet basically saying that it's the right decision, because it is, right? Overwatch 2 underperformed based on a lot of earnings reports and articles that have come out. Like, very clearly, it has not done what people want it to. Maybe you could argue that it's because the game's free to play. You could argue that it's because the monetization is not favorable to people who actually want to be buying skins. And I will say, I do think the skins are overpriced. I do. I think they'd probably sell more if they were a reasonable price. But, you know, is what it is there. It's their game. They can make their decision on that. It's cosmetic, so I'm not really thinking too much about it. It's not the end of the world, right? But this is the right decision, man. This is the right decision. And I see a lot of people dogging on Blizzard, still saying, oh, the whole 2 thing, all this. It's like, guys, that ship sailed. We already had our anger about that, right? We already let it all out. Right now, it's important to focus on the fact that they're actually making the right decision. As time goes on, ironically, Overwatch is going back to Overwatch 1. With the new features they're adding. The competitive system update is a lot more like Overwatch 1's system. And hopefully, we will eventually get the better format 6v6 back. Because the reality is, and here's what was really interesting. I watched a little bit of Flats in an Aaron Keller's interview where Flats was told that he could not ask about 6v6. We know why, because we all know it's coming, right? And where you've seen the narrative change drastically from, okay, well, tank synergies were too oppressive, to now, Aaron said, it feels like something along the lines of, you'll have to go find the quote if you can, guys. Like, you know, it felt like the queue times are way better, and that's where the argument should be. The argument should be about queue times, right? Because clearly the game experience is worse for tank players. That's pretty much unanimously talked about. Most tank players say the experience is worse, and like, let's be real. Nobody likes the forced counter swapping. Nobody does. That's never been why people play Overwatch. It's constant swaps. It's not skill expression. There's no skill expression and counter swapping and having your pick at the skill floor be better. It's not there, right? But it's important to see the narrative change there on the greater theme of Overwatch 2 becoming Overwatch 1.5, I guess, or like Overwatch Enhanced, we'll call it. Honestly, if I'm Blizzard, I'd drop the branding of Overwatch 2 altogether. Just go back to Overwatch, because that's what the game is. It doesn't need to be Overwatch 2. It's just Overwatch, right? I think people and fans would appreciate that humility coming from Microsoft and ABK, right? I think that's kind of what's needed from Team 4 here, because honestly, like, the updates they've been putting out have been pretty solid, right? I disagree with how, like, a lot of the balance had to come out, and I think they're solving problems in very risky ways, and like supports were too good, so they gave DPS an insanely powerful passive, and it really swayed the balance of things. But, you know, Overwatch is going back to what made the original game special, and to be honest, like, I think that's what we all want at this point. We've all kind of let go of what Overwatch 2 is, because it's nothing, guys. It's just the same game. So them making the decisions and reprioritizing, accepting the fact that it was a failure from the ground up at a sunk cost level is a big step forward for Team 4, not a step backwards. A lot of people are seeing this saying, oh, Samito, it's a step backwards. No, this is a step forward, guys. They see the path that they have to take, and they're going to take it. Now, I think the final thing that will really fix the game will be 6v6, right? It will be. That will be what brings people back. It's like, okay, this is the Overwatch that I loved, and I'm going to come back and play it. But back to what Aaron was saying, and I'm going to read an article here in a second. You know, where he said the queue times are better, but it seems like we fixed the problem by introducing another problem, right? Which is what they said for the moment they announced 5v5. I didn't make my video about this yet when they talked about tanking because I wanted to see how the Season 9 changes worked, and I'll probably drop that video late Season 9 or Season 10. I wanted to let this season settle so people will recognize, okay, like the issue and the frustration of tanking, like, this doesn't get solved by balance. You can't solve this by balance. It's not going to happen. Then we're going to talk about that a little bit later. But they're actually acknowledging and being realistic about what these problems are. Now, let's break down why a lot of these big changes are coming. And now I'm going to read an article to you guys, and I'll have my editor put it on screen as I read it. Hawk sent this to me from Bloomberg, and Blizzard makes big changes as Overwatch 2 struggles, okay? So, here we go. Overwatch in trouble. This week, video game titan Blizzard Entertainment changed the business model for the shooter Overwatch 2, decoupling the game's heroes from the paid battle pass. The seemingly drastic move led players and observers to ask, is Overwatch 2 a failure? And the answer is yes. Overwatch 2 is a complete and utter failure. That Blizzard should do everything they can do to get away from the branding of Overwatch 2. It should just be called Overwatch. Scrap Overwatch 2. It is done. It never happened. It was a downgrade in every level. Get rid of it, right? Twice a year, Blizzard employees receive a bonus check based on the financial success of their products, right? Each employee is given a target number and informed that they will receive a percentage contingent upon the company hitting its profit goals for that year. And these profit sharing bonuses are an important part of Blizzard's compensation packages because for decades, prospective employees or prospects have been told that while the company does not pay a higher base salary, such as Riot or other games, they make up for it through profit-sharing lucrative hits like World of Warcraft, right? And profit shares, like they're pretty standard out there, honestly. Bonuses at Blizzard usually arrive in two chunks, one in August for the first half of the year and one in March for the second half of the previous year. In August of 2023, Overwatch 2's team members were told that based on the game's poor financial performance in the first half of the year, they shouldn't have received anything, according to people familiar with what happened who asked not to be named during discussing non-public information, but that the company would cover some sort of their bonuses to make up for the shortfall. Then earlier this month, the company informed developers that they would receive a stunning 0% from their bonus targets, guys. The game is a failure. We've all accepted this. So to anybody holding on to the PvE, you have to let it go. Because the reality is they have years of horrible decisions to undo. And what they need to do is take this game back as closely as possible to the original that was a masterpiece. The original game was a masterpiece that was abandoned for nothing and led astray by bad hero design. That is what happened. That is the reality. And ironically, a lot of those heroes still exist in the new game and haven't been changed. But failing to get any profit sharing bonus is rare at Blizzard and the result of a major policy change that was enacted in 2023. Previously, employees would receive bonuses based on the overall performance of the company, but last summer the payouts became tied to the performance of each specific franchise, right? Since their titles were more successful in 2023, teams on games such as Diablo or World of Warcraft received bonuses this month, but the Overwatch developers were not so lucky. This policy change was the accumulation of a decade-long battle between Blizzard and its parent company, Activision Blizzard. Leadership at Blizzard, including former presidents like Mike, Alan Brock, whoever we're talking about, we don't care, fought for bonuses to be shared company-wide because they believed that otherwise everyone wants to work on the most successful games rather than experiment with new ideas. To be honest, the new ideas that Blizzard put out were pretty dog shit. In the defense of the policy, which, you know, I think it's silly, but it's not like they did anything good either. So that clearly, I don't know. Or actually, maybe that would actually side with Alan Brock's POV. You guys let me know in the comments. I'm not sure which one would actually be better for that because I'm just skimming through this, to be honest with you. But it was one of several points of tension that led to the deterioration in the relationship between Blizzard and Activision. Blizzard new president, Johanna, I can't say her last name. I'm so sorry, Johanna, who came from Activision, has told employees that she's looking into the details of the profit-sharing plan as well as other unpopular policies involving stack ranking and remote work, but has not made any decisions yet as to while she settles into her new role, right? So the lack of payouts reflects the precarious position of the Overwatch sequel, which came out in 2022 to mixed reviews. Overwatch 2 was the follow-up to one of the most successful games of all time, and was, although originally pitched as a focus on PvE, player versus environment, or battles against computer-controlled enemies, it has since scaled back on that vision. So yeah, I mean, look, it's a pretty big deal, guys. Like, it's the fact that now, what it really took, and this is kind of what I said years ago, in order for things to change, it's going to have to hit the checkbook. That's just what it's going to be. And one of the big reasons why I have been so adamant about my points over the years was to actually kind of avoid the worst case scenario, which ended up happening. I'm not trying to say I'm a messiah or anything like that, but I will say I was vilified for my takes by a lot of people in the community for just trying to speak the truth about what actually happened here, and hopefully getting Blizzard to avoid that mistake from happening. And making sure that the people, my creator friends, you know, whether it be people in the league or people who worked at Blizzard, were taken care of. And if there's anything that we've learned here, one, let's take the game back to its core. Let's get back to Overwatch 1. That is the game that was received well. Forget the 5v5, 6v6 argument. Here's how you have to look at it from an outsider's perspective looking in. Which game was viewed positively? Overwatch 1 or Overwatch 2? And the answer is Overwatch 1. The closer that Blizzard takes Overwatch as a franchise back to Overwatch 1, which is what people loved, the more successful the game is going to be. Overwatch 2 is a PR nightmare. It will never be fixed. It was so bad. It was arguably a bigger failure than Cyberpunk. This was the greatest failure from an IP in modern gaming history. And Blizzard needs to hit the reset, go back button. If I was Blizzard, I would drop the Overwatch 2 branding, go back to Overwatch 1's branding, and just call it Overwatch. Take the game back to 6v6 because that's the game that people loved, and do everything you can to dissociate yourselves from the Overwatch 2 stigmata. That's what this franchise needs. And canceling PvE is the right way to do that. So that is the Overwatch 2 rant, the death of Overwatch 2, guys. It's officially dead. Like, last year, the dream was dead, but now everything surrounding the game is also dead. And unfortunately, it had to hit people's checkbooks for it to really change. So yeah, guys, you know, I'm not going to sit here and say, like, I told you so or anything like that, because that's just corny, and I don't care about that crap. I want to see the game succeed, as I always have, and I think the next steps for Blizzard, who are making the right decisions, by the way, is to get back to Overwatch 1. That's what you got to do, and then reevaluate from there. I still think an Overwatch BR would go insanely hard, but that won't happen for years now after the whole PvE fiasco. And my hot take from 2019, where I said a BR in the Overwatch universe would be better than anything else, I stand by that, because the PvE was tried, and guess what? It did not work. So thank you guys so much for watching. I appreciate it. That's the death of Overwatch 2 right there. It's pretty incredible that we ended up at this point, and man, I can't believe I let this crap deteriorate my mental health in 2020 and 2021 to the point where I imploded, just to be looking back 3 or 4 years later and unfortunately have been correct. So yeah, okay, guys, thank you so much for watching. Take care. Peace out. Much love. And remember, stick to your guns, even if it makes you the bad guy, because you know what? As a man, as men out there, to all you men out there, it's our job to stand on our beliefs and fight for what we believe in and stand on business despite what the world might tell you. So thank you so much for watching. See you later. Take care. Peace out.